I am sharing something special with you all today. And ever since I dreamed this up, I have had this idea in my head on how I wanted to use this for the very first time. And I did it. And I am obsessed. And you just have to hang out to see what it is that I created and am sharing with you all.
For today's project, we're going to start by mixing up some Sweet Pickens milk paint. This color is basil, one of my favorite greens, and I'm only going to be using one coat of this, so I'm not mixing up too much. You are going to use equal parts warm water to equal parts powder. Stir that up and set it aside for about 10 minutes to let it thicken up. I am also going to be mixing up some antique ironstone as well. We're using two different colors today, and I will be doing two coats with that one. So I will be mixing up a little bit more of that. Again, equal amounts water, equal amounts powder. Stir that up, and you can see here I'm just using a popsicle stick to stir this. You can use a little wire whisk, a fork, whatever works best for you. And I'm just using little throwaway plastic cups to mix this in today. We are going to mix this one and set both of these aside and get ready to paint this cupboard door. So the only prep I am going to do to this piece is go ahead and give it a quick wipe down. You can see on my tag here, I paid 50 cents for this cabinet door, and I'm just going to use a wipe and get this all cleaned up and just give it a quick wipe down, and then I will go ahead and start painting. So we are just gonna pick up our basil paint and start to paint with it. And I realized right off the bat, this was far too thick. So I just grabbed some water, added a little bit more to it. I stirred it up a bit more and went right over where I started painting to thin that out as well. And then finished painting my coat of this green paint onto my cabinet door. This goes on so much better after I added that extra water. It definitely got a little too thick while I was working on some other stuff. So we're gonna put this on and then let this dry. And while I am painting this, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Sandra, and I'm the owner and creator here at Midwest Charm. I specialize in repurposed, upcycled vintage home decor, as well as all of your DIY crafty needs. We carry Sweet Pickens milk paint, DIY paint, iron orchid designs, recycled treasures, Connie lines and designs, and more. And today we are actually featuring one of our new stencil line stencils, and this is a large format stencil. If you remember, I did do a video earlier this winter where I used one of our small format stencils with snowflakes. And I will try to remember to link that in the description so you can watch that one and see how we layered those stencils to make an amazing, amazing background. This one, though, however, is a little bit different, and you're just going to have to wait to see what I am talking about. And you can see I actually get really good coverage. This is a very wonderfully pigmented paint, and I love using it. You need to know with milk paint, it is unpredictable. It can chip, it can crackle, it can peel up. It gets all these amazing reactions, and sometimes you just don't know what you can get. And there are ways to force certain reactions, and you will see me doing some of that. So I am actually going to go in and hit this with the heat gun, and that heat gun will start to crackle the paint as it dries and give it some chippiness. And I love that look. And it's actually what I am going for on this piece, so I don't mind this at all. So while today's project has minimal products used, it does have a few extra steps that I normally don't take when doing projects like this. So just be cognizant of that and do what works for you and to achieve what you're kind of going for. So we are going for that chippy, distressed, vintagey look. So you can see I'm hitting this with the heat gun, and that will start some of that crackle, which is wonderful, and we want that. And then the next thing I'm going to do once this has dried is I'm going to take a can of spray sealer. I just happen to have polyacrylic on hand, and I'm going to give this a coat of polyacrylic because I want, when our top color chips, I want it to go back to this green and have some of that green pop through. So that's why we are sealing this up. So we are going in with that antique ironstone now, and you can see again, this is so pigmented. I'm actually getting really, really good coverage over this green. So I do still end up doing two coats because I do want this to really be a solid color because we are going to be stenciling on top of this. So I really want a good base to go behind that. And honestly, that green is really just there for the chipping and crackling. And I do get some chipping down to that original wood finish, and I am okay with that as well. So we are just going to go in and make sure we get a good coverage on this first one and this first coat, and then we will go in with that second coat. Now you may notice with the use of milk paint, you may get some chunks in there. Just go ahead and let them dry on. It will easily sand off or just chip off, even pop off at some points. But here we are hitting that first coat with the heat gun, and you can already, I don't know if you can tell, but it's getting some amazing crackle, and I'm really thrilled with that. But then we are going to let this dry completely up and go in with our second coat of antique ironstone. All right, let's get on that second coat, and it is beautiful. I am getting the exact coverage I was looking for, and I'm getting really excited at this point about our final outcome because it is looking so good. I wish I had gone in and taken some close-ups in between each step so you guys could see exactly what we were getting for a finish on this. It was spectacular. Um, so we're going to get this second coat completely on, and we're going to jump ahead here so you don't have to see me paint the whole thing. Again, don't worry about those little chunks or anything. Just get that second coat on, and this one is maybe a little bit thicker than that first coat was, and that will also help bring in some crackle. So a couple things to bring in that crackle: hit it with a heat gun. You can put it on a little bit thicker for your second coat. And then another trick would be to, after you've dried it, to mist it and go back in and dry it again, because sometimes reactivating that paint will bring on some of that crackle as well. So here we are getting that heat gun going for the third time, and we are going to get this all dried up. And I really do take my time with this one because you can actually watch the crackle spread across your piece as it's drying, and it's amazing. And then we are going to go in and give this a quick sand. I want to make sure that that molding really pops. So we are going to make sure to just stress that, and also to remove any of those chunks of paint and any of the chippiness that is coming off as well. So we're going to give this a good sand. I want a nice smooth finish for my stencil to go down on. So we are going to go over this and then let this make sure everything's dry, everything's all dusted off. I actually use the heat gun to blow all of the powder off of there so I have a nice smooth clean surface to do my stenciling on. So this stencil is a 24 by 20 stencil. It is bigger than what I'm working with here. So you'll see me kind of working around the tops and the edges because this doesn't quite fit down in there, but I really have had this vision in my head ever since I designed the stencil. So I'm just going to go for it. So I have taken a little black dress and a DIY and a DIY paintbrush as well. And I'm just going in and stippling in that black paint over my stencil, and I'm offloading it onto a piece of plastic that's sitting there beforehand, just so that it doesn't get too much on there and bleed under. And if it does, it's not a big deal because we are going to make sure this baby is distressed and it looks old and chippy anyways, so I'm okay with that. And you'll see me not quite get all the way to the edge, but we're going to go in with an artist brush later and get all that finished off. And we are just going to keep doing this through all of the parts of this stencil. And here we are, just moving over a little bit and getting this finished up too. Sometimes you'll see me do like a little bit of a swirly motion, and on some of the bigger areas like the arrow, I actually go in and do brush strokes on that too, but stipple over it so it doesn't look like brush strokes and it matches the finish of the rest of the stenciled parts. This is a quick and easy job. I know this is in real time. So, I mean, I think I have maybe 3 minutes of total stenciling in here. And we're just going to go ahead again and take that. And you'll see once I get to the top, I'm not going all the way up. I'm pushing down on the stencil. If this were a completely flat surface, this would be so much easier to do. I would have just taped this down and it would have been a quick and easy job. But because I'm working around that lip on the molding, it does take a little bit of extra work. So we are just going to continue through and get all of our stenciling done, and I'll let you watch this part with some music. going to go in with that heat gun again and just dry up this DIY little black dress. This does not take any time at all. This paint dries really quick and then it is set on there. And I'm also going to dig out a couple different sizes of artist brushes to go in and finish off these pieces that didn't end up quite as filled in or as crisp as I wanted them. Now, this is going to be a super distressed piece, so I am fine with it not being completely solid like in that arrow. I'm okay with that distressed look that it has from the pouncing, so I'm not going to fill in too much other than the tip of the arrow and the left hand side there, the back end of it. I'm also going to be filling in, I can't think of what they're called, those little spacer lines that help hold in the details of the stencil. So I'm going to be filling those in too, and I actually think that's a really important step when you're doing a stencil because it just gives it a more finished look. And I think it just looks, I personally think it looks better. You can leave them in there if you so choose, but I'm just going in with I think this is a 1/2 inch flat brush. And then I go in and grab a smaller one, smaller angled brush to do those little letters. I do have to fill in part of the E and the I, the I in ironstone and the last E in jadeite because that stencil again didn't lay completely flat. And I want to make sure that those letters are still readable. So I'm going to fill in those and then do a little bit of detail work in the arrow part as well. Then we're going to dry this again. And then once that's dry, I'm going to seal this in with that spray sealer one more time. Let that dry. I want to distress this overall. And if I go in and sand this, the black dust from the little black dress, it is so super pigmented that it would turn this whole sign like a gray color if I didn't have some sort of sealer on there to protect it. So I'm going to go in with that spray sealer once these little details are all dried back up and give that one quick coat of that before we sand. And here we are giving it that quick spray down. And this stuff dries really fast. You can also use a heat gun on it to speed it up a little bit more. I'm loving how this looks. So we're going to give this a quick rub over with that sandpaper and just give this a more even look with the little bits that I added in on that. Get off any other chips that maybe have formed in the meantime, any added distressing I want to do. I'm going to blow all that extra dust off and then we're going to seal this up. And if you know me and my Sweet Pickins milk paint, absolutely I'm going in with my Sweet Pickins dark oil wax. And yes, I just dumped that right onto this sign. And we are just going to rub this all over every inch of this and make sure it gets into all of the little uh, bits and pieces and into the crackle and chips and make sure that it's in every part of this. So this is really going to enhance all of the details of that milk paint and give this an aged, beautiful look. It is my favorite way to finish off any of my milk paint pieces. Once you have this all on. You're going to let that soak in for 15 minutes or so. And then you're going to just buff this off, and you're just going to wipe off any excess that may still be sitting on the surface. I just use shop towels for this. They're lint free and it makes it super easy. And once like one side of this gets full of it, I just flip it and use another part of it. And you do see me using two because if you stick your fingers in this, it will leave a fingerprint. So I always try to hold it with another towel so that I'm not leaving fingerprints in my pieces. And then this piece is completely done. I will hang some D-rings on the back of this so it can be hung up. I am loving how this turned out, and I cannot wait to make more signs. And if you did notice, this is a 24 by 20 stencil. My piece is 27 by 18, and that inner part obviously is even smaller. So I did take out part of the stencil and didn't use it. And one more little quick jaunt here of just some of this beautiful, amazing crackle we got. I didn't know how else to show this to you guys, and I know my camera's angled the wrong way, so I apologize, but I just had to show you how good this was. Let me go ahead and show you some final shots of this piece, and you guys make sure you hang out to the very end and let me know what you think.
What did you think? I love it. It is beautiful. I cannot wait to use the stencil more. It is available on our website now. I do have limited to start with because we are not doing our official launch of our line of stencils until after the new year, but you can get this one and our snowflake one on the website now. So make sure you guys are checking that out. And I'm sorry I forgot to film while I was at the shop today because I was just so excited to get home and start editing my video because I knew it was going to be a good one. And I appreciate y'all hanging out with me and watching and supporting my little business. And we will see you all next time. Bye.